Hey, are aliens from other planets real? Or are they a deception? Now before I begin, I want you to know that I have a free PDF outline linked up in this video description, and that will list many of the things that I'm talking about right now and give you a kind of a rundown, and then you can pass that out to your friends and family. You know, in today's world, the idea of aliens from other planets is something that has saturated the culture. All of our movies, TV shows, comic books, video games, etc. are all about aliens from other planets. It seems that the interest in aliens is growing stronger and stronger and stronger. Why is that? Well, for one thing, the phenomenon is well documented. The testimonies for abductions and implantations is very wide. Cattle mutilations that have happened that are still unexplained all around the world. Crop circles, and of course visible sightings from around the world are more prevalent than ever. Now some might say this is just government experiments going on. This is government, hidden black government technology. But that actually can't be the case, and the reason is because these crafts, or at least some of these objects, have been documented in breaking the laws of physics. And what I mean by that is cutting right angles at extremely high speeds, going extremely fast without making sonic booms, dissolving into solid state matter, or dissolving through solid state matter. Many objects have been documented in doing this. So if you're breaking the laws of physics, this can't all be government experimentation. And of course also in today's time, aliens are being talked about in the scientific realm. Many famous scientists and atheists, from Stephen Hawking to Richard Dawkins, have proposed the idea of alien life. And maybe that's how humans came to arrive on this planet, is that they were seeded into this planet. Now, with all this in mind, is it actually still possible that there be aliens from other planets? As shocking as it might sound, the answer to that is no, and I'm going to explain why. First of all, it's really not widely known how mathematically improbable our very existence is in this universe. Let me give you some math to illustrate this. To do this, I'm going to read straight out of this little outline that I linked up in the description below. In their book, The Anthropic Cosmological Principle, physicists Barrow and Tipler list 10 steps in the course of human evolution, each of which is so improbable that before it would occur, the sun would have ceased to be a main sequence star and would have incinerated the Earth. They calculate the probability of the evolution of the human genome to be somewhere between 4 to the negative 180th power to the 110,000th power and 4 to the negative 360th power to the 110,000th power. Now, in talking about this probability of evolution, and I should mention that I have a video on evolution linked up below that I made recently, and I suggest you watch it. But it seems that if evolution did occur on this planet, it has miracle written all over it. Now some might say, well, the aliens started first and then they seeded us, so you know, that's how we got started. But the problem is that if our planet, just our planet, is unbelievably improbable and we couldn't start on our own, how did life anywhere else start on its own? Now that's just the math, but there are other problems as well. First off, many of the abductees, and of course many in the New Age religions that talk about aliens coming to this planet, all mention that these aliens have told them that they have created us, they made our evolution happen, and that they are going to take us to the next step as our creators. Here's the problem with that. We now know through science that we have something called DNA. DNA is defined as a molecule that contains the instructions that allows an organism to function and live. So basically it's a software, because software in terms of a computer is a set of instructions that allows a computer to function. Now, here's the problem, that if we take a computer and we take a virtual reality like a video game, say you're playing a video game with characters within it, each of those characters has a code. We are like those characters because we have code inside each one of us, DNA code. Now the logical thing to say is that when it comes to the video game did not get created from the inside, but had a programmer on the outside that fed the code in. Likewise, it would be logical to say that if we have code in our characters, then there would be a programmer on the outside of the whole reality that is feeding the code in. and that programmer is still feeding in the code because, of course, every baby gets a instantaneous, brand new set of DNA instructions. So that programmer must still be working today. Now, this shows that aliens cannot have made human life on this planet because they are also inside the reality, because the code has to come from outside and be fed in. So for aliens to claim that they created humanity, that can only be a lie. Another thing is that humans are very advanced computers. You know that your brain processes billions of actions per second? So every brain on this earth is a supercomputer. As far-fetched as it might seem, human beings actually require a soul in order to operate at all. In fact, I have a video about this argument linked in below entitled Proof of the Soul. But basically, a quick rundown of the argument is this. If your brain is a computer, what is necessary for every computer is a user. So you can actually not be your brain because something has to use the brain. The brain cannot use itself. No computer will ever type on its own. There always has to be someone to use the computer for it to do anything. So the fact that we actually do things like move our arms and legs requires a soul to use the brain to move the arms and legs. So aliens cannot create things that are immaterial, like souls, because they themselves are material. So what are these aliens? One of the big series on TVs, of course, has been Ancient Aliens, which is on the History Channel. And in that channel, they go through a lot of the ancient cultures and what they worshipped as gods. And they make the claim that these ancient gods were just aliens from other planets. Now the problem with this theory is what I've just stated before. It's mathematically impossible. It's impossible that they created humanity because of DNA and the requirement of a soul. So if these ancient gods weren't aliens, what were they? Well, if you look to groups like the Aztecs and the Mayans, did you know that one of their main gods was described as a flying serpent? These cultures that were separated by vast periods of time all reported seeing a flying serpent god. For the Mayans, the god was called Kukulkan, and for the Aztecs it was called Quetzalcoatl, the flying serpent, the creator of all life. But then what happened is that these gods started to kind of turn on the people. They started requiring blood sacrifices, ritualistic sacrifices, and even self-harm, such as cutting themselves with stones. Now, why would aliens from other planets require blood sacrifices or self-harm? What's interesting is that there's another ancient document that also talks about a flying serpent being, and that document is the Bible. In the Bible, Satan, who is a serpent, described as a serpentine being, in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2, he's called the prince of the power of the air. And in Revelation 12:9, it gives this description. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So interestingly enough, in the biblical text, there's also a record of a flying serpent being, and he is called Satan and the devil. And it talks about him coming to the earth and deceiving people. Kind of like these alien groups are, claiming they are from other planets when it's mathematically impossible, claiming that they seeded humanity when it's actually genetically impossible. And when you read through the Bible, you'll find in many verses depictions of these beings requiring sacrifices of people, requiring people to cut themselves. In fact, in Mark chapter 5, verses 1 through 20, it talks about Jesus delivering a demon-possessed man who was constantly crying and cutting himself with stones because he was possessed by demons. There are many accounts of human sacrifice, blood sacrifice, and self-harm all throughout the Bible. And it seems that the aliens of the History Channel did the same thing in these ancient cultures. You know, when it comes to the Aztecs, these aliens or their gods required that they sacrifice between 300 people and 250,000 people per year. In fact, at the dedication of just one temple, it was estimated that around 80,000 people were sacrificed in a period of 4 days. And when it comes to these sacrifices, and I'll link in a web page describing that below, they would basically take a person, lay them on a stone table, plunge a knife into their chest, rip open their chest cavity, remove their heart, show it to them, and then dump the body down the stairs of the pyramid that they were on. Somehow all these cultures also knew to build pyramids for some reason. So why would aliens, the creators of the Aztecs and the rest of the people of the world, require that these people kill themselves off and just destroy themselves? Maybe it's because they're not really the creators of life, they're the destroyers of life. In fact, when you look at the biblical text, it says to do exactly the opposite. It says to glorify your body for God. It says that you are not to sacrifice people. And also in the Bible, it's the God that sacrifices himself for humanity. Whereas in these ancient cultures, it was always the humans sacrificing themselves for the gods. So the Bible gives the opposite message when it comes to the history of these ancient people. So even if you're a layman when it comes to the Bible, if you take Jesus and then you take the opposite of him, what do you have? You have Satan. And what does Satan want in the Bible? He wants the destruction of humanity. And doesn't that just fit right in with the flying serpent that required people to kill themselves in brutal ways in these ancient cultures? By the way, there's only one documented tactic that has ever stopped an alien abduction from happening. And that's when the people that are being abducted call on the name of Jesus and rebuke the aliens in the name of Jesus. So the aliens seem to respond just like the demons did in the Bible. So isn't it very possible that these aliens aren't really aliens from other planets? They're just the old demons from the biblical text. And instead of possessing, like it used to be called, it's now called implanting and abducting. By the way, these aliens from other planets are still sacrificing today. I'll place another link below in the video description which talks about the animal sacrifices and the cattle mutilations that are still going on today, cases where animals are being abducted, having one or more organs removed, and then the blood is drained completely out of the body. Why would aliens need to do things like this? Why would aliens need to perform these sacrifices like the demons required in the ancient Bible text? Now, one of the reasons I believe that all this alien media is shoved down our throats is because we're being set up for a specific time. You know, in the biblical text, at one point there's going to be this rapture of the church. And what that is basically all the Christians of the world are literally going to be taken out in the end times, right before destruction hits the earth. Now, if that were to happen, how would that be explained using a non-biblical narrative? Well, what better way than to say that all these people have been abducted by aliens? In fact, that is what the New Age religions teach. And I'm going to link below some of the writings of these New Age believers when it comes to explanations for that rapture of the church. And also the alien agenda fits right in with what is called the mark of the beast. Because if you read Revelation, the last book of the Bible, at a specific time there's a thing called the mark of the beast. And it seems to be some kind of chip that's put in the hand or the forehead that allows one to evolve or become something different. And you also can't buy or sell without that chip. Now, of course, the aliens have been implanting for years, and now the governments are also doing the same thing in terms of developing their own chip. So what I would say to you is this: if you don't believe me, don't be surprised if someday some aliens come after a lot of people have disappeared off the earth with the message that they have abducted a lot of people and that they are here to give you a chip to upgrade your evolution, to create and make you more like them. If that ever happens, don't take that chip. And so if I were you, I would just take a look at all the links below, take a look at all the evidence, and put forth your own theory and see if it doesn't match up with mine. Because we always need to be going towards the truth, not away from it. Because the way of the truth does mean life. We need to listen.